It is spooky season, and if you don't know, spooky season is one of my favorite times. So every spooky season, once I decide that spooky season has started, which is now, we do Ghoul Ready With Me's every Friday until Halloween. And if you don't know what Ghoul Ready With Me is, we do a little spooky-ooky look while I tell you a spooky-ooky story that I'm making up off the top of my head. It's a lot of fun, and I gave myself a head start on this one because I had to do liquid latex, and just it's going to be very involved. I've already got a layer of foundation on because we're doing colored foundation, and I'm afraid this is going to stain. So I'm going to put this over another layer of foundation, just to be safe. Just to give me a little extra layer of protection, in case you're wondering why it looks like I already have something on. That's why. Okay, so if you guys are ready to get spooky-ooky, let's get into it. Also, I have blackout contacts in, so you're gonna see me poke up my eyeballs. Okay, it's just, I'm sorry, it's gonna happen. It's spooky season. This is what happens. Okay? Alright, without further ado, let's get spooky. You ever have one of those moments in life where, you know, one little thing goes wrong and then something else goes wrong, and then it just kind of turns into this like series of unfortunate events that you just can't seem to control? Well, that's what happened to James. He was a successful businessman. He owned a furniture company, but things kind of started going a little awry. His company was successful, but one day the hangar door that they had to have open when they were getting deliveries fell right on top of an employee, and unfortunately they ended up brain dead, and the family sued the pants off of James, and the business went under. And of course, you know, he's trying to figure out where to go from there. Lost the family business, trying to figure out how to get back on track, start a new business. Do we just give up? And that's when he finds out that his wife is terribly sick. And they don't know what's wrong with her. So doctor visit after doctor visit after doctor visit starts racking up quite the bill. Then his son gets in a car wreck, and you know, it's just, things just seem to spiral from there. They went through all of their savings, and he was kind of just at his wit's end. Like, what am I supposed to do with all of this? Well, one of his friends had also kind of had some rough times, and he, you know, went to his friend. He said, you know, I don't know how you just bounced back from that. And his friend was like, well, I had a little bit of help, but I don't know if you'd be interested. Well, James was like, listen, I'm at wit's end. I don't know what more to do here. So if you have a suggestion, if there's something I haven't tried, please tell me. He said, well, it involves making a deal with the devil. Well, James laughed because, of course, his friend had to be joking, right? Like, no way his friend actually made a deal with the devil. But his friend wasn't laughing. His friend said, no, for real, I talked to a demon and they made me a deal. Well, James didn't like where that was going. He said, listen, I'm a good Christian man. Like, I couldn't do that. His friend said, well, you wanted to know my secret. That's my secret. I can tell you her name. You say it 3 times, she'll appear. He just sort of stored that in the back of his head and went on with his life. Well, unfortunately, like I said, events just kept getting worse and worse. He came home from work one day and found his wife collapsed in the floor. I didn't know what to do with that. Her condition was getting worse. They still had no idea what it was. He kept thinking about what his friend said, but he really just didn't think that he could go through with something like that. So finally one day, he called his friend up and he said, listen, I've been thinking about it and thinking about it. Things are not getting better. There's got to be a better way to do this, but I give up. What's the name? Well, his friend wanted to make sure that he was really sure that he was ready to do this, because once you do this, there's no turning back. He said, I have no choice. I have to do something, and everything that I'm trying isn't working, so please just give me the name. And his friend said, okay, here's how it works. You know that old tree that looks like it got hit by lightning or something out in the woods, but it never falls down? You gotta go to that tree. And you have to say, Cassandra, 3 times. And then she'll appear, and she'll grant you 1 wish. But here's the catch. You have to be really careful about that 1 wish. Because if she can spin it any kind of way, she will. Well, James had grown up with all sorts of stories about, you know, evil genies granting you your wish, but like not how you wanted it and that sort of thing. So he understood exactly what he meant. And he's like, okay, so I really have to plan this out. What exactly am I going to do? What am I going to wish for? And how can I wish for it in a way that's not going to end up working against me? And he came up with a plan. It was a crazy plan. He's pretty sure no one has ever attempted this plan. But it was his plan. And he thought it just might work. And he told his wife he had a lead on a job. He felt horrible lying to her, but after all, he was doing this for her. And if his plan worked, he felt pretty sure all would be forgiven. So he went out to the local woods, just like his friend said, found the old tree that looked like it had been struck by lightning, but for some reason had never fallen down. He stood in front of the tree and he said, Cassandra, Cassandra, Cassandra. And nothing happened. Well, of course he was mad at that because he thought his friend must have pulled a fast one on him or something. It's like, he did everything he said to do. I think that his friend would be that heartless. Well, that night he had a crazy dream. There was a woman in it that he had never seen before. Beautiful woman. And she said his name 3 times. And then he woke up with a start. Not sure what had just happened to him. Well, eventually he was like, okay, I tried that thing out in the woods and it's just messing with my head. Like, it's nothing. It's me. I'm crazy. It's fine. Next day, he called his buddy up and he was like, listen, like, I believed you. I went out there. I called for her 3 times, like you said. Nothing happened. And I just can't believe that you would do that. And said, nothing happened? And he's like, no, nothing happened. What was the big idea? Getting my hopes up like that and then nothing? Well, his friend didn't know why she didn't appear to him. He's like, she appeared right away to me. I'm not pulling your leg or anything. Like, that's what I was told to do, and that's what I did, and she appeared. Well, James couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was just toying with him at this point. He told his friend about the weird dream he had had. That's her. That's Cassandra. You dreamt of Cassandra. And his friend said, well, why would she come to me in my dreams, but not in real life? Well, his friend didn't know what was going on, but he said, that was definitely her. So maybe try it again. So he went out there again, called for her 3 times again, and it was like the forest itself just went silent. Just as he is about to give up and leave again, he heard the voice from his dream saying, "James, why have you come? I don't think you're ready for the deal that I want to give you." Well, James, being the shrewd businessman that he is, said, "I'm not accustomed to making deals with someone that I can't see. So if you want to make a deal with me, show yourself." He heard kind of a giggling sound, and he turned around, and there was a woman. Only her eyes were completely black. She said, "Well, James, your whole life is kind of in shambles, isn't it? Nothing's going right. You need a lot of help. You know, normally I'll make a little deal, like you win a little money or whatever, and in exchange you have to do like a little deed for me or something, but big cases like yours, I might need a little more." "Okay, I'm listening. What deal do you want to make? Because I want to make a deal." She said, "Well, James, I can take all of your problems, and you do have quite a few. I can make them all disappear. I can make you wealthy again. I can make you a respected member of the community again. But it's going to cost you your soul. Are you ready to pay that price, James? Are you? Because I don't think you are. I think you're a good Christian man, and you're not going to want to do that." And he said, "Well, what if I make you a counteroffer? What if I figure out a way to have you help me for free?" Cassandra laughed at that, because never in all of her years of being a demon had she ever helped someone for free. He seemed so confident, and something about that just tickled her fancy. So she said, "Okay, I'm intrigued. Why would I help you for free?" James told Cassandra, "I think I know how I can help you. And I think once you hear what I have to say, you're going to want to help me. I think there's a plot to get you out of here. I heard some people talking at church about it. They found out that you were granting people wishes, and they want you gone." Well, she laughed, because what would they possibly do for her? Like, she had been around for so long. There was no way they were going to get rid of her. But still, sometimes the church has been known to win one. So she said, "Okay, I'm intrigued. How are you going to help me?" "I think I know how they're going to do it. Let me gather more information for you. But in the meantime, please help my wife. She's been gravely ill." Well, as loath as she was to agree to help him, she really couldn't see a way out of it. So begrudgingly, the demon said, "Okay, when you go home, your wife will be healed. Now go find out what this stupid church is thinking that they're going to do to me." James couldn't believe that that worked. He actually didn't even know if the church even knew about her. But he figured being threatened with exorcism would be the biggest fear for a demon living out in the woods trying to steal people's souls, right? So he bought himself some time, and hopefully got his wife healed in the process. But he knew eventually he was going to have to answer to the demon, come up with some kind of plot that the church made against her, even though there was no plot. But in the meantime, he had his wife back again. Now, of course, his wife started having questions about this job. Like, was there a job or wasn't there? Why was he making all these business trips, but didn't seem to have any income coming in? Something wasn't adding up. James realized she was wising up to the fact that there was no job. And pretty soon, she was going to start asking questions. One night, he had a dream where, again, Cassandra was calling for him. So he knew, okay, I'm being summoned. I'm going to have to go back out to the woods. He still had no idea what he was going to say. But he knew he was going to have to be good. So he went out there with Cassandra in the woods. And she wanted answers. They're bringing in some kind of top-notch exorcist all the way from Rome. That's all I could get out of them. But here's the thing. Is there any way you could maybe meet me somewhere else? Does it always have to be here in these woods? Because people are starting to get suspicious of me. And if they're suspicious of me, I can't help you. Well, Cassandra thought that was a fair point. So she said, okay. Where would be a good spot for me to meet you then? He says, well, it doesn't have to be somewhere conspicuous. Just, maybe somewhere in town, like behind the grocery store or something. Well, she didn't feel like that was asking too much of her, so she said, okay, that's fine. Go behind the grocery store, say my name 3 times. Whenever you have more information, I will appear. And then he thought of it. It was so obvious. Why didn't he think of this before? This little she-demon seemed a little vain. She appears as a beautiful woman, right? She could appear as anything. She could appear in her true form. But she appears as a beautiful woman. So he thought, maybe, just maybe, this demon was a little bit vain. And if that's the case, he might know exactly how to bring her down. The next day, he went behind the supermarket and he said, Cassandra, Cassandra, Cassandra. And sure enough, she appeared. Well, you have more information for me? How are they coming for me? Is it the guy from Rome? Who is it? He said, well, I do have more information, but since you were so kind to meet me here, I can't talk about this loudly. Would it be okay if I come a little closer? So he stepped a little closer and he was like, listen, I want to help you. I do. But in order to truly help you, I need to see what you truly look like. Can you show me your actual form? Well, she thought that was an odd request. No one's ever asked to see her in her actual form, but she was happy to oblige, so she looked around to make sure no one else was watching and transformed into her true demonic self. Well, James was a little taken back. He hadn't quite thought this all the way through. He thought he could handle seeing an actual demon, but now that she was right in front of him in all of her glory, he was a little intimidated. But it was too late to turn back now. So he said, wow, you are so terrifying. Well, she appreciated the compliment, but, just needed him for one thing. And that one thing was, what was the plan to exorcise her? He said, can I come a little closer? Let me tell you in secret what the plan was. So she nodded her gigantic demonic head, and James stepped a little closer, truly a little intimidated and terrified, but he had a plan and he had to see it through. He leaned in and he said, well, truly, there is no plan. I just needed this. And he reached up, grabbed her horn, and snapped it off of her head. She was in a rage. She clawed at him, but he ran away. And he said, nope, if you ever want your horn back, you're going to do exactly what I ask of you. The demon stopped and said, what do you mean? And he said, I'll give your horn back, but I need you to do some things for me first. I have things that I need done that only you can do, but I'm not willing to give you my soul for it. Well, the demon didn't know what to do. I mean, she had never been in this predicament before. What would her boss think? But what's a demon without its horn? Well, from that day on, James's family just seemed to flourish, and they never really stopped. Generation after generation, they all seemed to do so well at everything they set out to. No one really knows why, but they do seem to have this weird horn from some kind of creature hanging above their mantle. And when they get asked about it, they seem a little cagey. That was our very first School Ready With Me. I hope you guys are excited. I have some more, a little spookier stories, but I have more planned. I just came up with this one on a whim and thought, you know what, that sounds like fun. Let's be a demon. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one. Stay spooky. Woo.